The major arcana starts with the Fool card. The Fool's card is a card of beginnings. The Fool stands for each of us as we begin our journey of life. He or she is a fool because only a simple, new soul has the innocent faith to undertake such a journey with all its hazards and pain. At the start of this trip, the Fool is a newborn, fresh, open and spontaneous. The Fool's figure on card 0 has arms flung wide, and the Fool's head held high. The Fool is ready to embrace whatever comes his or her way, but the Fool is also oblivious to the cliff edge that is about to cross. The Fool is unaware of the hardships her or she will face as the Fool ventures out to learn the lessons of the world. The Fool stands somewhat outside the rest of the major arcana. 0 is an unusual number. It rests in the exact middle of the number system, poised between the positive and negative. At birth, the Fool is set in the middle of his or her own individual universe. The Fool is strangely empty as a 0, but the Fool has a desire to go forth and learn. On setting out, the Fool immediately encounters the Magician, which is card number 1, and the High Priestess, which is card number 2. The Magician and the High Priestess is the great balancing forces that make up the perceived world. It is a feature of the material universe that as soon as we name some aspect of experience, we automatically evoke its opposite. The Magician is the positive side. The Magician represents the active, masculine power of creative impulse. The Magician is also our conscious awareness. The Magician is the force that allows us to impact the world through a concentration of individual will and power. The High Priestess is the negative side. The High Priestess is the mysterious unconscious. The High Priestess provides the fertile ground in which creative events occur. The High Priestess is our unrealized potential waiting for an active principle to bring it to expression. The terms positive and negative do not imply good and bad. These are human distinctions that do not apply in the tarot. The Magician and the High Priestess are absolutely equal in value and importance. Each is necessary for balance. We may view the negative as our shadow, but without shadows, we cannot see the light, and without a ground of potential, we cannot create. As the Fool grows, the Fool becomes more and more aware of his or her surroundings. As with most babies, the Fool first recognizes the mother. The Empress is the warm, loving woman who nourishes and cares for the Fool. The Fool also comes to know Mother Earth, who nurtures in a larger sense. The Empress card number 3 represents the world of nature and sensation. A baby delights in exploring everything he or she touches, tastes and smells. The Fool cannot get enough of the sights and sounds that enchant the senses. It is a natural delight in the abundant goodness of Mother Earth who surrounds us with her support. The next person the Fool encounters is the father in the figure of the Emperor card number 4. The Emperor is the representative of structure and authority. As a baby leaves his mother's arms, the Fool learns that there are patterns to the world. Objects respond in predictable ways that can be explored. The child experiences a new kind of pleasure that comes from discovering order. The Fool also encounters rules. The Fool learns that his will is not always superior to all others and there are certain behaviors necessary for his well-being. There are people in authority who will enforce such guidelines. These restrictions can be frustrating, but, through the patient direction of the father, the Fool begins to understand his or her purpose. Eventually, the Fool ventures out of his or her home into the wider world. The Fool is exposed to the beliefs and traditions of his culture and begins his formal education. The Hierophant card number 5 represents the organized belief systems that begin to surround and inform the growing child. A Hierophant is someone who interprets knowledge and mysteries. On card 5 we see a religious figure blessing 2 acolytes. An acolyte is an assistant or follower assisting the celebrant in a religious service. Perhaps he is inducting them into a spiritual membership. Although this image is religious, it is really a symbol for initiations of all kinds. The Fool is now a child and is trained in all the practices of his society and becomes part of a particular culture and worldview. The Fool learns to identify with a group and discovers a sense of belonging. He enjoys learning the customs of his society and showing how well he can conform to them. Eventually, the Fool faces 2 new challenges. He experiences the powerful urge for sexual union with another person. Before, the the Fool was mainly self-centered. Now the Fool feels the balancing tendency, pictured in the Lover's card 6, to reach out and become half of a loving partnership. The Fool yearns for a relationship. The Fool also needs to decide upon his or her own beliefs. It is well enough to conform while he or she learns and grows, but at some point, the Fool must determine his or her own values. The Fool must start to question received opinion. By the time the Fool becomes an adult, the Fool has a strong identity and a certain mastery over himself. Through discipline and willpower, the Fool has developed an inner control which allows him to triumph over his environment. The Chariot card number 7 represents the vigorous ego that is the Fool's crowning achievement so far. On card 7, we see a proud, commanding figure riding victoriously through his world. The Chariot is in visible control of himself and all he surveys. For the moment, the Fool's assertive success is all he might wish, and he feels a certain self-satisfaction. The Fool is the assured confidence of youth. Over time, life presents the Fool with new challenges, some that cause suffering and disillusionment. He has many occasions to draw on the quality of Strength card number 8. The Fool is pressed to develop courage and resolve and find the heart to keep going despite setbacks. The Fool also discovers the quiet attributes of patience and tolerance. The Fool realizes the willful command of the Chariot must be tempered by kindliness and the softer power of a loving approach. At times, intense passions surface, just when the Fool thought he had everything under control. Thanks so much for watching part 1 of the Fool's journey. Subscribe if you'd like to see more tarot-related videos.